Star Trek: The Mark of Gideon and the Impossible Civilization. The title of the episode is only The Mark of Gideon. I am adding the Impossible Civilization because, so, this episode is about a society that is overpopulated, so much overpopulated that people are stuck and they can't move and they do this shit. You see a scene where there's plenty of people gathered in a room and they do this shit because obviously at the time acting wasn't really not that much of a thing, and although they clearly have absolutely no objective but to be right next to each other and do like that. They don't do much else. But yes, so the explanation of why they are overpopulated is that there was no diseases. All right, this is a good explanation as to why a population can suddenly explode and grow. Their lifespan has raised substantially, another good explanation. And they have such a deep respect for life that they would never, ever, ever think about the fact of not keeping making babies. Obviously, this is an impossible civilization. This is an impossible society. Naturally, and I'm not even talking about need for reforms and laws to regulate that. Naturally, a civilization would slowly begin to, well, either it's a lack of resources that would end many people's life and slowly regulate the number of the population. But even if that lack of resources was never happening, there would be a natural diminishing of the number of newborns, because people would naturally, within their unhappiness, within the fact that there is already many people, decide to, especially if their quality of life increases, because they said that there are no diseases and a longer lifespan, they would naturally stop doing stop making that much babies, especially if they know that they will make them into a world where they're going to be unhappy and live in misery all their life, because that's how it's described. Despite the fact that they never want to stop making babies, apparently, they live unhappily forever and ever and ever. All right. But this is interesting in some aspects because this is a good analogy for the pro-life. The pro-life think that whatever the case, you should never end fetus, even though it's not yet acknowledged as life, because they have such respect for life that you should never end even what is not life. This is funny because obviously they pretend to have a holy respect for life, but if they had a holy respect for life, they would see a bit further from that, and they would do things like they would refuse for those lives to uh, to be born, because of the fact that it creates so many miserable and unhappy lives all around the world. And that's how you have a holy respect for life. You respect life so much that you don't want to create any lives that would be unhappy and miserable life, because life is holy. And the worst thing that exists on this planet is not death. It is shitty lives. It is miserable lives. Because when you're living, you can feel, and feeling misery is way worse than not feeling anything anymore and dying.